Good evening. It is Tuesday, the 31st of January. I have just managed to do the first Brew and Blether of 2023 just before the end of the first month. So apologies again for cancelling or postponing last week's Brew and Blether. You would not have wanted to have heard me, even if I was fit and able to come along and do something. Anyway, much better now. Still got a slight croak to my voice, but I am up, well, and at 'em, as they say. So I hope you're all well. Happy New Year. And yes, I thought, well, tonight, I think the last one I did was just sort of blethering to the camera. So this one, I will just have a little chat with you. And also, I thought I would just do something a little bit different. Well, it's not actually different. What do? I make wee creatures. that's as different as it gets. But because you know me, I'd never know quite who's going to want to come and appear. But I just thought I would first of all tell you about my trip this morning to the crystal shop. Now, I had lots of fun. Thankfully, Hayley, my roommate, has an account with a wholesale crystal shop. So we went along this morning and I have managed to get the first batch of selenite towers and a few bits of extras as well. So, oh, and Dawn, thank you very much. It's lovely. Oh, thank you. I'm glad I'm feeling better too. Thank you for your good wishes too. And you've all just been so lovely in the group too. So has made me very happy, and I've loved all the posts that you've been putting and sharing, and oh, so many cute creatures. It's wonderful. So long may those continue. Right. And we have Lorna here as well. Hello, Lorna. Lovely to see you. Well, hear from you. Happy New Year to you. And yes, I have my cup of tea. It's nearly cold. But not too cold not to drink anyway. Right, yes, so back to the crystal shop. Now, as well as the 10 centimetre, the 4-inch selenite towers that I have put the original 2 bunnies on, I found even smaller ones, and they are extremely cute and will be very good for mice and individual creatures. So here's one that I managed to do a little bit earlier on today. Now look at the size of that. So it's about 6 centimetres tall. And I just had this little sparkly grey mouse who wanted to go for a little climb up to the top of it. These are great. The only downside about the size of selenite towers is that they're too narrow to go on the light bases, or at least on the light base that they had at the crystal shop. So there may be smaller ones that you can get. I mean, the actual diameter is, she quickly measures it, is what, 3 centimetres in diameter. So it would need to be a smaller light than that. But hey, it's wonderful. I'm looking forward very much to making lots more wee creatures. I think sparkly creatures work best as well, and it saves any fragments of the selenite sticking to them and turning weird colours. So anyway, so that was one thing which I bought today. So I've got a whole stash of them to make, and also got some of the bigger ones too for double creature things. And also because, of course, I know Valentine's Day hasn't even happened yet, but of course I'm already thinking about Easter. So I couldn't resist getting these gorgeous rose quartz eggs, which are just lovely for Easter eggs. And of course I had to give it to a wee bunny to hold. The bunnies, it's funny, isn't it? I've just been, the cats have recently gone through a bit of a, they have morphed, they evolved, I should say. They have evolved a bit, and they've become a bit more structural, a bit more sculptural. Don't know if that's a word. A bit more like the bunnies. You know how they don't have any separate chops, or the ones looking down for the Remembrance Poppies pre-order, they didn't have any chops. And I think that works when the bunnies are sort of looking down like that. I don't know if that works as an angle. But when they're looking up, absolutely separate chops. But when they're looking down, no chops. And the same went with the cats. So the cats now no longer have chops when they're looking down. So let's see what happens to them. Anyway, so that's you get to hear it first about my trip to the crystal shop. Excuse me. So I'm looking forward very much to doing more of the selenite towers. And I've got 10 of those rose quartz Easter eggs too. So I will give them to a range of different creatures, but mostly bunnies, I think, for obvious reasons. So tonight I thought I would, now you'll remember these gorgeous little autumn leaves, which Kerry had made for me and glazed beautifully, and I put little mice on them and then gave them little blankets. So now last year, I don't know when we were first in touch, she sent me some of her smaller leaves. Okay, so this shows you, this was it's a much smaller leaf than oh my goodness, sorry, I hadn't realized that there were more comments, dear me. Oh, Tara's here as well. Hello, happy new year to you, Tara. Right, sorry. I'm distracting myself, squirreling myself as usual. Anyway, so I just thought it might be quite fun tonight, because I haven't made tiny creatures for a while, to see whether I can make a tiny sleeping mouse to go on this leaf. Because I don't know, I just like challenges. I like tiny creatures, and let's see what happens. So I thought a little sparkly grey mouse would be good for this, and I think I will only need a gram of clay, and that might be too much. So I'll get my dealer scales out and I shall measure out a gram of sparkly grey. Excuse me. The grey will look really nice against the green, I think. But it's amazing how small a 1 gram actually looks, and that's just a little bit too small. So I can't believe that it's February already tomorrow. Again, the year is just flying by, but I don't know if you've all got my newsletter. I sent it out last night. But my plan for this year, because there's no squeak show, I have no squeak show anymore. But my plan for this year will be, I think, to do more pre-orders. And a lot of people are interested in the selenite towers, quite understandably, because they're just ridiculously cute. But I'll do them in sort of batches, maybe do pre-orders of about 20 and do several of them. And see how that works out. And I'll do little shop events as well in between. Maybe not every month, but certainly fairly regularly. And we'll see how that goes. It's very strange not having a focus for the year. Because the Squeak Show has taken up the last 2 years. So it'll be very interesting to see how it goes. Anyway, so this I'm hoping to make a tiny mouse out of. My goodness, can't believe that I'm doing this. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'm not convinced that it'll work. But hey, it's always fun to have a good chat and catch up with you. I mean, the theory, it should be very similar in style or technique, I should say, to the bigger mice that I do, which are usually made with about 3.5 grams of clay. So about 3 times the size of this little jelly bean, my goodness. And I may need the help of maybe a few tools just to sort of press in define the chin of the mouse's head as well. It's getting there. The little jelly bean is coming along. Yeah, I'm really enjoying doing more sculptural. I don't know whether this is just the impact or the influence of doing that course, where I did Zeus last year. I need to trim my nails. Yes, it might be because of that. Just that I'm wanting to do much more. I don't know. It's combining the sort of the more realistic with still the very stylized approach that I have, which I really like. I mean, I kind of, if anything, I'm probably an animal caricaturist, because I just pare down to get the essence of each creature, and somehow it just emerges from the clay. It's quite incredible how it happens. I mean, already I can see this. Sorry, this little mouse. The throat is still a little bit croaky and a little bit tickly, which does. Do you know what it is though? It's because I don't speak to anybody through the day. So when I speak to you guys, then, you know, you get the whole lot. Now let's just make sure that body shape isn't too long or isn't too big. Oh, look at that. Is that just going to about fit? Oh, it goes that way around, doesn't he? Because his bum's bigger than the top. Right, okay, I think our 1 gram mouse is coming on. So, yes, do forgive me if I go a little quiet at occasions. Now, I'll need a tiny needle just to get more of to get his little neck creases. And it also helps define the curl of his back leg where he's all sort of snuggled up, basically. And then that just needs to be smoothed out a bit. Now, I've no idea what size of ear I'm going to make for him. It's going to have to be really, really small. What kind of... Is that going to be too big? Oh, that's probably right. This is actually the cutter that I use for inner mouse ears so far. But I think I'm going to have to use a thinner, excuse me, a thinner thickness of the pasta machine, because it won't, it really won't do with being, you know, I'll start again. What I'm trying to say in not a very clever way is normally when I measure out, this is a normal thickness of mouse ear clay that I use. I do it at the level 3 and then double it over, and that gives me the perfect thickness. Trial and error. But it means that because it is quite thick, any time when I push the ball shaper into it, it squishes out and makes it larger. Excuse me. But because this is such a small mouse, I can't have it going much bigger than it is. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not sure that it's terribly relevant, but we'll give it a try. It'll need some give because I need to get it a little bit circular. You know, it needs to be more inverted dome is what I think I'm going for. I think possibly. Right, and here's the inner ear clay, which now thankfully this is where my pack pen comes in very handy, because that's the perfect size for the inner ear for this kind of tiny mouse. I think I've got one more of these tiny leaves, so this really is a bit of a one-off. And I just thought, you know what, quite fancy just giving myself a challenge. And it's even better when I'm doing it, no pressure, in front of you guys. Right, so I'm just now placing the inner ear in the centre. So I'm just trying to get it, it's not going to play ball, is it? Oh, there we go. Nearly. And then just, yep, that'll do. And then I've got a small ball shaper here, which I can use just to give it that inverted dome shape. Let's see if this is going to be enough. There we go. So it is exactly the same technique that I use for the larger mouse, just much smaller. As I say, a gram of clay I'm using for this. And already he's there. I can hear tiny little mouse snores. Well, he can't really snore. He doesn't have his nose yet, but it's coming. It's coming. And once again, I'm afraid I can't read any comments. So if you're saying anything and I'm really not ignoring you. Promise. Right. Okay. So they're done. You see how they've kind of got a little wider than they were before. Now the other thing I need, of course, is a little bit of, actually, I'll borrow these. I'm making a couple of Valentine cards mice at the moment with, I shall show you, these really cute little cards that Jacqueline made for me last year. They're wonderful. I love you more than cheese. So I'm giving them to mice, obviously. So I'm just in the middle of doing that. So these are the paws from, excuse me, from those mice. So I will pay them back tomorrow. Now this is just to get the tail really, because all the paws are curled up and hidden there. Actually, let's just. So I'm kind of, I mean, my thumbs look huge compared to this tiny, tiny little mouse. But for some reason, it kind of seems to work. Now, again, I'm just going to use this ball shaper. Normally I would use my my thumb for this, but even my thumbs are just a little bit too chunky for that. So it's not even pressing, it's just to give an impression of an indentation. It's not, I don't want it sort of to be an obvious one. Again, this is what I normally just do with my thumbs without even really thinking about it, but not this time. Right, let's get, oh goodness, sorry. Right, oh, I'll need a smaller clay shaper for this. So again, just pinching at the end. It's probably the tiniest mouse here that I've ever made. But then, have you ever come across, now what's her name? Is it Beth somebody? She's a polymer clay miniaturist, and she does the most incredible sculptures. They are like, they just perch on the tip of her finger. I mean, I think this is small. These are like giants compared to what she does. I must share a picture of her work because it's just phenomenally clever. It really is very, very clever. So, right, let's turn these over. Again, so exactly the same techniques, but just on a much smaller scale. So I'm trimming the point off at an angle so that I can, sorry mouse, no, see, it's so easy. This is why I need to file my nails. I must confess, I do chew them, but not out of nervous habits. That's just kind of when I can't be bothered getting a pair of scissors for them. And often I will just file them down. In fact, I often file the skin around my nails as well. If they get dried out or anything, then it can sometimes, create grooves on my thumb, which so I file off my fingerprints basically. Another reason why the clay ends up being as smooth as it is. All right, so even though it's a tiny, tiny mouse, I'll still use the medium extender to join wet clay to wet clay. Right. And this is the ear that he'll basically be leaning on. And I haven't actually given him his nose. I normally give them their noses pretty quickly, but not tonight. Is that okay? Can you see that all right? I think it's in an okay place. All right, one. And then the other one. And all of a sudden, he starts to turn into a mouse. I love it. I love how they just appear. It's just magical. And this is where I don't feel like I can take credit for them, because somehow they just appear. All right. And then it's kind of, because he's sleeping, so it's slightly less erect than it would be otherwise. Sorry. I'm sorry about that. Right. And then you can see that the ear is sort of acting as a pillow for him. That's how I always think of it. So now let me give him his nose. So just a little dot of liquid clay, and then a tiny, 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 tiny nose, like much tinier than you'd think. and that's probably even too big. So I will take I'll take half of that off. There we go, that's not bad. And I'm kind of looking at him side on as well and front on, so just so that he he makes logical sense. He needs more definition under his chin, and you won't ever be able to see this part of it, but I'll know it's there. So it's all got to be right. Oh dear, sorry, I wish I could mute this. Right, now coming back to this was to make enough for a tail. So I'll trim out a smaller circle. This is going to be too big, but it's a good start. And then I will give him his little sleeping eye, and then he gets pressed and moulded to the side of the shape of the leaf itself. Right, and I think about there. So again, another little bit of liquid clay. And then, I don't know whether you can see, but I was thinking about this today. It's so important that the mice are as anatomically correct as possible. So here you see the curve of the spine coming down, and that's the hip bone there coming up with the... So I can kind of visualize the structure underlying the mouse. That's how I always try and think of it when I'm making them. The same with the little climbing mouse. I'll come back to him. You know, this is a 3-gram mouse now. It looks huge. But trying to sort of imagine the skeleton of the mouse as he's climbing, as he's going up there. And, you know, and he's in action. He's not just stuck on the side. He's actually, you know, he's standing there. He's got one foot on a ledge and he's reaching up to the top. And I might have to make some of the mice, or excuse me, some of the wee creatures with little flags so that they can, you know, go up and claim the selenite towers as their own. Anyway, so if that's a hip, then the tail will sort of emerge slightly under from the back, and then I have them curled over and up, so it's all almost forming part of the pillow as well. Oh, this is cute. Now I need to get the eye. Now this is this is like a one chance of doing the eye properly, the eyes properly, because obviously it's on both sides. So just to make sure that he's the right position. And what I'll do, I mean, although that this is me just pressing him in so that he's embedded in the leaf, you know, he is properly lying on it, properly sleeping on it. And that means bringing the ear over a little bit and the head down a little bit more. Right, okay, I can't put it off any longer. I've got to give him his eye. Right. Okay. I wouldn't normally use the scalpel. I would normally use another tool which has a slight... You can tell I'm procrastinating, can't you? This is the tool that I normally use for the eyes, for either closed eyes or sleeping eyes, because it's got quite a nice curve and I can kind of pull it down a little bit into the corner of the eye. However, that's too big. I would basically take up the entirety of the head. Right. So I need to just be brave. Oh. And there. And the same again on this side. That's not bad. That's not too bad. Okay, could have been worse. Could have been worse. It's quite a young mouse, I think, by the looks of that. Yeah, and actually the eye is just marginally too low. So what I can do is just blend it up. And that actually shifts the clay up a fraction. I can't tell you how small that is. Well, you can probably see. Right, and then I'll bake him like that. And then he'll actually fix in place. I could give him a tiny, tiny blanket. What do you think? Or shall I just leave him like that? How cute! How cute! Oh, the wee creature, and they're just, I do love them. They make me smile. I'm very, very fortunate to do what I do. And I'm very fortunate that you guys are there just to hear me burble on, basically. This is me just touching up, making those a little bit more pronounced, and then fade them out so that they're more natural. But I think, what is it, 8:25? I think that little mouse is done, apart from a blanket, if I want to give him a blanket. That's just to make sure that his tail is supporting his head a little bit. There we go. Oh. Well, it can be done. Let's compare him to his bigger... Oh, have I done him the wrong way around now? Or have I put him the wrong way around? Or does it matter? Probably not. Doesn't matter, really. Yeah, so this is us. We're... That's a 3-gram mouse and a 1-gram mouse, and he's just very, very, very sleepy. So, right. Well, thank you for joining me on that. That was lots of fun. And I'm very glad to have done it. I'm sorry for coughing throughout it. Maybe another sip of tea will help. But I'm glad I could share with you my purchases from this morning. I'll make more, a more formal announcement in the group chat probably tomorrow. And yeah, there'll be more wee creatures appearing in time for next Wednesdays, a week on Wednesday, the Valentine's shop event. But to be honest, I am having so much fun with the tiny penguins. The tiny penguins. This is one of the penguin chicks. Again, look at the size comparison. So I think these are tiny. Anyway, so yeah, the penguin chicks are just a bit ridiculously cute, and yeah, they're made with the plain silver glitter clay, I should say, rather than the cut clay. This stuff, which is what this little mouse has been made out of, is half and half silver, glitter silver, and glitter white, and that works. That makes a nice distinction. So every time I mix up different colours of the silver grey. In fact, that's ready to be done. I've measured it out, weighed it out, and it's just waiting now to be blended. And then I'll have another stash of pale silver glitter clay, grey clay for the mice primarily, but the bunnies like it as well. Anyway, right, I was going to stop blethering on, but it's lovely to see you. I will now go away and have a good read at all your comments, and assuming you've left me some, and I hope that you're well and having fun, and I shall see you again soon. All right, have a lovely evening. Bye.